Takadosh Boker on Masechet Chullin Daf Yomi Daf Gimel Amud Aleph 3A1. Says the Gemara, if you remember, we had a problem, is that when we were talking about the Rabba Bar Ula, we were learning that if he's going to be careful from doing shechita, and the shochet is tameh, as long as he was careful not to touch the meat, meaning like not to touch the flesh, really meaning not to touch the animal, it's going to be okay. Now the question is, 1 second, right? What type of a met was he? Like what type of a tuma was he? If he was tumat met, so therefore it says in the pasuk, right, in the beginning over there of by Parat Duma of right of so the beginning of Parashat Chukat over there, it says, right, Hay tameh di tameh b'mai. How does it become tameh? If you're going to tell me now, di tameh bemet, that the guy became tameh tameh met, it says in the pasuk, b'chalal cheref. What does that mean? Right? The Torah says that he's going to become tameh for 7 days. Cherevu areu kechalal. So the cherev is like the halal, which means that any type of a metal is going to be the same dargah as a person. So if he's using now the knife, and the knife is a metal, so therefore what's going to happen? It's also going to become tameh. So avatumahu. So the tamim sakin is going to be mitameh the sakin. The azal sakin, then goes the sakin, right? V'tameh telebasar is going to be mitameh the basar. Ela, but rather the tameh besheretz. He became tameh tumat sheretz. So he says, so therefore, since it was the tumat sheretz, right? It's another tuma. So therefore, he becomes a rishon tuma. So therefore, it's not going to be mitameh the sakin. Remember, a dead body is aviyavotatuma. Aviyavotatuma. Sheretz is an avatuma. The human being is always a secondary to what it becomes. So if the dead body is aviyavot, so he becomes an avatuma. Now there's a special deen to do with the metals that it has the same status quo as that human being. So because of that, it would also become tameh immediately. Now, if he himself is only meaning if the sheretz is only an avatuma and he becomes a rishon, so then he does not mitameh the knife. So therefore, the answer is no. He was a tameh, but only through a sheretz. So since he was tameh through a sheretz, the sheretz is an avatuma. The human being is a rishon letuma, and therefore, since he's a rishon letuma, the knife does not become anything. Meaning the knife is not tameh. Okay. Yeah, because wood is not, it's only the metal that is the halal cherev. Only the cherev does it become, the metal does it become. You're asking what happens if you have a handle, does that difference from the metal? Yeah, but if he touches the metal, just even one little part of it, that's it, it's done. Okay, you can answer, leolam di tame bemet, really bemet, it is a met. Ugon, for example, shebadak krumit shel kaneh, you checked the wall of the kaneh to check that there's no pgam, the shachatba, and you did a shechita. The Tanya was learned to the right bakol shochatim ben betzul ben mizchuchit ben gurukma shekoneh. That means basically you didn't use a metal. You know what you used? You used the kaneh. You used the reed. You used something which was like how do you call this? You used used everything else because technically speaking, you could use for shechita. You could use a tzor. A tzor is what? Is a stone, right? Or you could use chuchit, glass, right? Or you could use the krumit shel kaneh. So by using all these things, you didn't use the metal. So only the metal would have been a problem. Meaning only the metal has the status quo that it's the same alacha as a human being, and therefore it would have been also metamen and so on and so forth. Okay? Fine. Next. Abaye Amar. Abaye comes and he says, Hachi ktani. This is what it means to say in our Mishnah. Now remember, we had one explanation of Rabba Bar Ula in the Mishnah. Rabba Bar Ula says, when you said Akol Shochatin, we were talking about somebody Tameh, and he's talking about Chulin Shenasal Tarat Kodesh. When it says Shchitato Keshera, we were talking about that he was Tameh and he was doing Kodshim. Now, even though we just said that you're not allowed to do Shechita and Kodshim, but the Avad, if you did it, as long as you were bodily that you didn't touch it, it's going to be kosher. Then we went and we said the Seifa to do with the Cheresh Shotev Katan. So that we said that the Cheresh Shotev Katan cannot do any type of a Shechita whatsoever. Okay? And then we said, but if somebody's watching them, so then it's going to be okay. So the Abaye now is going to change the entire pshat of the Mishnah. Okay? One more time. Pay attention. Abaye Amar Hakiktani. This is what it means to say. Hakol Shochatin comes to include afilu kuti. When it says a kol, remember it's including something. What is it including? Even a kuti. Right? But Medavimuni, one of these words, only Kashi Selo Medal Gabaf. Only when a Jew is watching him. Aval yotze v'nichnas, lo. But even if you're yotze v'nichnas, it doesn't help. Meaning sometimes in halacha, it helps yotze v'nichnas. So for example, certain times, caterers, this, that. So it could be that they don't have a full-time mashgiach, but they have somebody that's yotze v'nichnas, right? So therefore they have it, right? Somebody once, it was a big rabbi, he once said a beautiful chidush. He says, did you realize it says always yotze v'nichnas? It doesn't say nichnas v'yotze. What's the difference?
It's more yotze than nichnas.
Exactly. Meaning that when it says yotze v'nichnas, it means that he's already inside. The majority of the times he's inside. But he goes out once in a while and he comes back in inside. If you says nichnas v'yotze, it means the majority of the time he's on the outside. But he just comes in and out once in a while. So that in itself just gives you a lot of musar skill, in a sense. Because really, be'emet, is it... in a sense, so you have it there. Okay? Fine. So aval yotze v'nichnas...
If a kuti can do the shchita, that means a goy can do the shchita?
Well, yeah. Yep. Yep. Okay. So he comes now and he says like this. He says,
And be done in the azara.
yeah, let's see. So he says over here, so he says, Yotze v'nichnas, lo yishchot, you should not. Now, what happens v'im shachat, if he did do it? Chotech kazai basar v'noten lo. Right? You take a kazai basar and you give him to eat it. To the kuti. Achalo, if he eats it, it's mutar le'echol mishchitato. Lo achalo, asur le'echol mishchitato. He says, right? Which one? No, not because of a hurt. It's because the kuti himself, right? The how do you call this? Right? The even though the kutim were makpidim not on, even though the kutim were makpidim on shchita. Yeah. Meaning even for himself, he was mahmir. Meaning like this. Sometimes you had, right, because it actually says it. It says that sometimes that the kutim, whenever they grabbed halacha, they grabbed it on very, very well, like very strong. That means even though they didn't keep everything, right, certain things, whatever they grab very well, but sometimes others. That's why the Gemara speaks about, a kuti shechal, right, shechalav be'ema, and can you drink the milk, and so on and so forth. All these different, halachot, as they say. So what happens now is as follows. So you have here the kuti. Now the kuti doesn't care if you're going to eat non-kosher or not. So therefore, I can't trust him with the shechita. But if you give him to eat it, and he's going to eat it, that means the shechita was done properly.
They would do that with kings. They would give it to the
exactly
to eat.
Yeah.
If he's not,
why were you going so far, kings? They do it even until today. Yeah. Exactly. That's what he does. Of course. What do you think? 100%. He does it all the time. How do you think he kills the other people? You know how many times he's killed them? Yeah. You had it even with. So says the Gemara. Yeah, says the Gemara, you give him to eat the shchita. If he eats from the shchita, so it's going to be good. If he doesn't eat from the shchita, you're not allowed to eat from the shchita. Except for shechere shuta v'katan, because even b'diavad it doesn't help. Why? Shema yishu, shema yidirsu, shema yachlidu. You remember there were 3 different types of things of psulim that could happen. Whether it's going to be that you're going to wait in the middle of the shchita, that means you don't finish the shchita in one shot, or that you put too much pressure with the knife on the skin, on the bones, right, on the thing, or shem yachlidu, that maybe he's going to like stab. It's not that he's actually going to use it. So those are 3 different psulim. That's why even a cheresh katan is going to be yitkiu et hasakim mitachal echad hasamnim. You're going to like stab it. I don't know a better word for it. Tokea et ze. I don't know how you say it. You're like you're like pushing it in. I don't know how you say it in English. What's the English word? I don't know. Well, chalada literally, usually in Hebrew, just means rusty, right? That's rust. Rust is chaluda. But here it's yachlidu is a yitka. It's a sakin. You're going to be tokea. So it's like a tokea shofar. It's not going to be a cut. It's like a stab. It's not really a cut.
It's like the one we said with the tameh.
Yeah, that it's not good. Yeah, it's not good to stab.
It doesn't touch the...
No, nothing to do with that now. We're in a different pshat now. Now we're talking about kuti. Remember, we just changed the pshat in the Mishnah. We're not talking about tameh. We're talking about kuti. So one more time. Hakol shuchatin, even a kuti. B'diavad, it's talking about also the kuti. But again, what we're talking about, that if you already did it, right? Because when we said hakol shuchatin, that's when Yisrael omed al gabav. When Yisrael lo omed al gabav, well, no, even if he's not nechlas yotzeh, it doesn't help. But now he says, but if he did do the shchita, so now what happens? So now he says, give him to eat. If he eats it, now you could eat it. If he does not eat it, you cannot eat it. And then he comes and he says, except for if he's going to be there 24/7, though, it cannot be yotzev nichas. Yes. Yeah. So he says, v'kulan sheshachtu, right? When it says that everybody that did the shchita, in which case? Ilam, if you're going to tell me now, Cheresh Katan, Valakaina Yuvim Shachatu, right? What does that mean? Mi Baile. It says V'im Shachatu. So he's exactly. It's like a stabbing. It's like pinching it in, right? Underneath. Yeah.
So you kill the them.
Yeah. You're doing the shechita, but you're doing it that way. He says it here. He says it mitacha leichad simanim. It does say it here. Yeah, that they're going to do it in that fashion. Okay, now he says vim shachatu mi. So he says ella, but rather we're talking about, one second, we're talking about the kuti. So ha Marta, you already told me salo melagabav shachit. Afilu lechatchila. You just told me that if it's a kuti and you have a Jew there the entire time, so it's even lechatchila. So says the Gemara Kasha, you're right. It's actually going to be a good question. The Amar Rava comes and he asks now on Abaye, Yotzev nichnas lechatchila, no? You're going to tell me Yotzev nichnas does not help? V'tram, we learned in the Mishnah and Avodah Zarah. Hamaniach oved chovim bechanuto, ve'yisrael Yotzev nichnas mutar. Imagine right now you leave the goy in your chanut. Now you've got wine there, right? As long as you're Yotzev nichnas, it's kosher. Meaning I'm not going to suspect that the goy touched the wine and then made everything yain nesech. So you see from here that Yotzev nichnas is already okay. You don't need the entire time mashkiach tmidi. Yotzev nichnas is already okay. Answers the Gemara, Hata mikatani maniach? We didn't learn maniach, which is mashma lechatchila. Hamaniach tanim. Hamaniach means b'diavad. Meaning lechatchila, you should only leave him there if you have a mashkiach tmidi. But diavad, if you left him there and you're Yotzev nichnas, it's going to be kosher. The goy.
We learned that you make a hole and then put something.
Yeah, 100%. So he says ela mehacha, but rather we have another proof. אין השומר צריך להיות יושב ומשמר, אלא אף מי שיושב נכנס מותר. השומר, we're talking about השומר for יין נסך. You don't have to be there the entire time, but rather, יוצא נכנס already going to be מותר. So אלא Rava, but rather Rava comes and he says now he's going to give a third explanation. So one more time, we had three different explanations. The first one was the entire thing of the tameh. And then we started asking questions about how did it become tameh? Was it tamemet? Was it tamesheret? If it was tamemet, but you weren't using metal, and the whole entire thing. Then we brought down a pshat of Abaye. Abaye says nothing to do with tumah. We're talking about a kuti. So akol shochatin is a kuti. As long as you have Yisrael Omer Gabav, you could always have the kuti doing shchita. If there was not Omer Gabav, right? No mashkiach tmidi. So then you're not allowed to. But if you did do it, so then give him to eat. If he eats it, bon appetit. If he doesn't eat it, it's not going to be good. And then we continue with the Cheresh Vekatan. Then he comes and we disprove that as well. Because we say you don't need a Yisrael Omer Gabav the entire time. All you need is Yotzev Nichnas. So now we're going to give a third answer. Ela Amar Rava. Rava comes and he gives a third answer. Hachi Ktani. This is what he say. Hakol shochatin vafilu kuti. Right? Everybody's allowed to do shechita, even a kuti. Pamed, when one of these words, keshi yisrael yotzev nichnas. When the Yisrael is going to be yotzev nichnas. Aval, ba'u metzao sheshachat. If right now the Yisrael is going to come and he's going to find the kuti that they did the shechita without hashkacha, chotech kazay basar v'noten lo. You give him the kazay basar. Ava achalo, if he eats it, it's going to be mutar lechol. If he doesn't eat it, it's asur lechol mishchitito. Except for a cheres shotav vekatan, ta'afilu b'diavad nami lo. That even b'diavad it's also not going to help. Shema yishuv, shem yachlidu. So now he comes and he says 1 second. So according to this pshat, now he says like this. Until now it sounded the exact same, correct?
Yeah.
I didn't see any difference.
You give a piece
Yeah?
from the chuti.
Yeah. Everything sounded the exact same. So what's the difference? That's the exact same also. Everything was the same. That is also going to be a sur b'diavad afilu. Why? Because the shami yishu, shami yidisu, shami yachlidu. The same thing. The exact same. I didn't see any difference. But now is the difference. V'kulan sheshachtu ahai. So now the Gemara is going to say, 1 second. According to this, actually, maybe there was a difference. Because I'm trying to see here, what was the difference? There was a difference. Sorry. The difference was the Reisha. Now I understand the difference. No, but I was reading it. It sounds the exact same thing. The Reisha was that in the Pshat of Rava, in the Pshat of Abaye, you needed Omed al Gabav all the time. And Yotzev Nichnas did not help. Now he changed that. The Yotzev Nichnas does help. You don't need Omed al Gabav. Now I understand what the change. You chop that or not? You just understood that or not?
Before he gave the option of
One more time. No.
Now
We said no. We did not give the option of Yotzev Nichnas. Exact opposite. Beforehand, when you read Abaye, go back to Abaye. Yeah, it says Abaye Amar הכל שוחטים ואפילו כותי. במה דברים אומרים כשישראל עומד על גביו? Only when the ישראל is עומד על גביו. אבל יוצא ונכנס, it does not help. Now, that we just changed. Right now, we just changed that.
So you took the one that midi.
Exactly. He took that away.
So now
Why?
says,
Because יוצא ונכנס is good enough.
so he's going to talk about the katan, shote,
So now,
with regards to
yes. So now he comes and he says, "V'kulan sheshachtu ahai." What is it going on? So he says, "Ilema." If you're going to tell me now, it's going on the cheresh shote v'katan. Aleka v'im shachatu mibalei. So it's the same question that we asked before, but it's going on the kuti. But you told me that if it's yotzev nichnas, you could do even lechatchila then. What does it mean now? V'kulan sheshachtu. Kulan sheshachtu is mashma b'diavad. What do you mean b'diavad? It's lechatchila if you have yotzev nichnas. So answer the Gemara, kasha. It's a good question. So we have a good question against Rava as well. We had a question against the first one also as well. The only one that was not written kasha was on Abaye. Correct? Rava ena choshesh lekushia zu meoto tam shelo chashash Abaye. Okay. Fine. Next. Yeah. So Ravashi comes and he says, Hachi Ktani. This is now going to be the fourth explanation. So we had, who was the first rabbi that gave the explanation? Rabba Barula. So the first one was Rabba Barula, that was with the Tameh. Remember, you have the Tameh that's coming and he's doing a Shechita. Second explanation is Abaye, is the Goy. Third explanation of Rava is also the Goy, but the only difference between them was, do you need a Mashkiach Tmidi or is it enough Yitzev Nichnas? The Kuti is yeah. And the fourth explanation now is Ravashi. So Ravashi comes and he says, Hakol shochatin v'afilu Yisrael mumar. We're not talking about the kuti. We're talking about a Jew, but he's a Jew that's not religious, a non-religious Jew, a mumar. So says the Gemara, what type of a mumar? Because remember, there's two types of mumar. Mumar lemai lechol nevelot v'leteavon, right? Uchderava. So he says, this is. You remember, there's two types of mumar. There's mumar leachis and mumar leteavon. Mumar leachis means that there's a mumar that he wants to get Hashem angry. So everything that he does is to spite Hashem.
He knows what he's doing.
Exactly. Mumar leteavon also knows what he's doing. The only difference is he's got a yitzhara. So he's going to eat non-kosher. He's not eating non-kosher because he wants to spite Hashem. It's just non-kosher. He's got a tava. He wants a cheeseburger.
It's a kind of he recognizes Hashem and he's talking to Hashem.
Yeah, but that's called a mumar leteavon. So mumar leteavon means that he's doing it for his own desires, right? Mumar leachis is he wants to get Hashem angry. He's doing it with chavana. Meaning you got the kosher and non-kosher, they're the exact same taste, but he b'chavana wants it non-kosher. That's called mumar leachis. Mumar leteavon just means, listen, I can't get a cheeseburger in any other way. Now you could with toffee or whatever, like tafito, whatever you want to call it, the fake cheese. But in the old day, you wanted that. You can't get a kosher ham. So he wanted a ham. He had a teavon. It's not that he wants to get Hashem angry. You understand? It's just teavon. So he says, mumar lemai, lechol nevelot v'teavon. So he says, v'chterava, like Rava. Rava says, Yisrael mumar al nevelot leteavon. When you have a Yisrael mumar that wants to eat nevelot leteavon, right? Gimel amubet, yeah, 3b. Bodek sakin v'noten lo. You check the sakin and you give it to him to do the shechita. Umutar le'echol mishchitato. You're even allowed to eat the shechita, right? He says, why? Because obviously, right, he's going to, means you gave him everything to do properly, so why wouldn't you do properly? But if you didn't check the knife and you gave it to him, right, lo yishchot, don't let him do shechita. But if he did do the shechita, bodek sakino acharav, check the knife afterwards. If the sakin is still good afterwards, you're allowed to eat from the shechita, and if not, you're not allowed to eat from the shechita.
What's the case?
Which one?
I'm trying to understand the case.
One more time. Let's pretend you have a non-religious Jew, but he's not a non-religious Jew. Yeah, so he's not the one that wants to get him mad. He just has a tava.
Okay.
So now we just said, if right now you're the religious Jew and you're given the sakin shchita to check, right? That means you check the knife and the knife is kosher, and he does the shchita, so it's going to be okay, even though you didn't see him do it.
You gave him to check the knife.
No. But now if you did not check the knife, and he went and he did the shchita, so now you have to check the knife afterwards. If the knife is still kosher after he did it.
Change also after the shechita.
No, but it doesn't matter. But if it's still kosher afterwards, then for sure it was kosher before.
Yes. But
Remember, sometimes they do shchita 10 times and then they check the knife again. They don't check the knife every single time in between. You understand? So then there's different halachot there where we're going to learn. We're learning Chullin now. But 1 second, but lat, right? So what happens now? So right now, you have to check the knife. You didn't check the knife. He went and he did the shchita. So you check it afterwards. If it's kosher, you could still eat from the shchita. If it's not kosher, you can't eat from the shchita. Okay, that's
What
halacha.
happens if
So
there was a mashgiach over there?
which one?
Oh, you're the mashgiach.
You are the mashgiach really bemet beforehand. So he says, except for the cheresh shotev katan, right? Why? Because even with it doesn't help. Why? Which means here again the same thing. Even if the knife is kosher afterwards, the problem was not the knife. The problem was the technique, how to do the shchita. So by the katan, if he's going to do or the cheresh shotev katan, it doesn't help this with checking the knife afterwards. So that was the answer of Ravashi. So one more time, we're talking about a Yisrael mumar leteavon. Not leachis. Mumar leteavon. That's doing the the leachis doesn't. That he's doing the
Because
shchita properly.
the real difference between him and the katan and the shote is the knowledge of how to do the shita.
Yes, and just the chatan is going to do it the wrong way. That means even if the knife is going to be good. So says the Gemara. One second. Remember, whenever you have the different explanations, we have to plug it back into the Mishnah. And in the Mishnah, it said Hakol shochatin. So one more time, Hakol shochatin is talking about Israel mumar, and we're talking about that you check the knife beforehand. Shchitatan keshera means that you check the knife afterwards if because you didn't check it before, and the shchita is kosher. Except for a cheresh katan, that it doesn't help. Why? Shema, right? Shema yikalkalu shchitatan. But now it says in the end of the Mishnah, the kulan sheshachtu. Who's that going on? The kulan sheshachtu, and everybody that does the shchita, and people are watching them, it's kosher. What is that? What is kulan sheshachtu? Remember, that was what we disproved every single person from those words. The kulan sheshachtu. What is that going on? So says the Gemara, the kulan sheshachtu. Who's it going on? If you're going to tell me it's on cheresh katan, so then it says ve'im shachatu. Not v'kulan sheshachtu, because it's a different case. One more time, in all these cases. Yeah, but remember, there's different halachot. When you said akol shochatin u'shchitatan keshera, the shchita is kosher, right? Then you say cheresh shotev katan. Cheresh shotev katan, even b'diavad, that's not good. So now, when you say now the kulan sheshachtu, it's not kulan sheshachtu. If you're only talking about the cheresh shotev katan, right after those words, after cheresh shotev katan, you should write ve'im shachatu. This is halacha. That's if it's a cheresh shotev katan. So it means v'kulan shachatu should go back on the beginning as well. So he says ela Yisrael mumar. Now he says 1 second. If you check the knife and you gave it to him, you already said that even lechatchila he could check. So obviously you did not check the knife. But if the knife is here, just check it right now. V'yidelek al sakin. If you don't have the sakin, so then even if other people are watching it, what do I care? Maybe the sakin has a pgam. Kasha. Again, we have another question against Ravashi. Basically, we're using the end of the Mishnah for every one of these rabbis to disprove their explanation in the Mishnah. Because again, if you're going to tell me the Kulan Sheshachtu is talking about the Cheresh Katan, so just say Vim Shachatu, and other people are watching them, and therefore they saw the technique. So if it's going to be kosher, but it doesn't say Vim Shachatu. It says Vikulan Sheshachtu. So Vikulan Sheshachtu is going back in the beginning. But 1 second, if you just told me it goes back on the beginning, you told me that if you check the knife beforehand, so it's kosher lechatchila. And if you didn't check the knife, so you still have to check it. What does it help now that you have a mashkiach that's not checking the knife and just watching you? Did you check the knife? No. So maybe the knife is fagum. Maybe there's a defect. It's not a good knife. So now we're going to have a fifth explanation. Right? I hope you guys are keeping your heads on.
It says the last answer.
Okay. The fifth one. The fifth one is the last one. Okay?
Oh,
This is the fifth one. Number 5.
Here it
Yeah.
says the fourth. No, because there was one before Abaye.
How did you have...
Abaye,
Or...
Ashi.
Ravashi. This is Ravina. That's number 4. But yeah, the first one. The first is Tameh. Rabba... what was his name? Rabba Barulula. Rabba Baravula. Yeah, Rabba Baravula. Okay? So this is the fifth one. Okay? So he comes and he says like this. Ravina Amar. Ravina is going to come and say, Hachiktani. This is what it means to say. Hakol shochatin means Hakol mumchin. Yeah, they're all professionals. Shochatin. Mumchin, afal pishen muchsakin, meaning that they're mumchin, even though they don't have a chazaka in it. But medvun, one of these words, shiodin bo shiodea lomar ilchot shchita. If they test him on the halachot. Aval en yodim, but if he doesn't know the halachot, lo yishchot, don't let him to do lechatila. V'im shacha, but if you already do it, podkinoto, check him afterwards. Im yodea, if he tells you how to do it, so mutar lecho mishchatov, and if not, it's sur. Except for a cheresh shotev katan, because even b'diavad it doesn't help. Why? Shema yishu yitzu b'chaledu, because even if they know the halachot, maybe they're going to mess it up, the technique. So now it says the Gemara again. Let's go back again to the Seifa. The kulan sheshachtu, what's going on? If it's going on the cheresh shotev katan, alekain, that's what it's going on. Vim shachatum b'alei. Should have just said if they did the shchita. Ela asher mumachin, that they're not mumchin. So if they're not mumchin, bodkin oto besagi. So then it's already enough just to come and just check him in the halachot. Why do you need other people on top of him? Even without, just check him halachot shechita. Check does he know the halachot or not. So basically, now we're not talking about anymore Yisrael Mumar or a goy or a tameh or a kuti. Like because each one was the kuti. No, we're talking about a regular Jew. But the regular Jew is he an expert in shechita or not? So he says that everybody is mumchin in shechita, right? But they're not muchzakin, because muchzakin means that they have a chazakah that they've done it many times. Remember, many times you could know the halachot, but you've never done it. That's what do you think of practice, right? You know the theory, right? But many times the practical is different. He could be an incredible doctor, but if he never did a surgery in his life, he has to do surgery a few times before we come and we start giving him everything by himself, because he can know everything, but it could be that just
So that the Kohen Gadol can be without practicing time.
no, but they train him. They train him and all these things. You understand? They start training him, right? Even in the night of Kippur, they train him on the different animals to recognize animals so he doesn't make mistakes. It's a training. You understand? They have to train him on all these things. So he says over here, says the Gemara, right? No, you know what happened? He's not here. Meaning the guy did the shechita and then he took off. So since there's no shochet, so therefore, right? How are you going to test him? You understand? So therefore, if you have somebody else that was there watching to make sure that he did it properly, it's kosher.
Yeah, but watching does not mean that they verified the knife.
Because we're not suspecting on the knife. That's why. Beforehand, we were suspecting on the knife. Now we're not suspecting the knife. Now we're suspecting does he know how to do the shechita? So if I come and I see that he did the shechita properly, I say everything else is fine.
So there can be nichnas.
Yeah, but we're not back on the pshat of nichnatz yotzeh. Even though you're right, but we're not there. So it's Yisrael omed al gabav. So it's mashma that it wasn't Yitzav Nichnas. It's mashma that it was there the entire time. Okay, next. V'ika damli. Now we have another explanation in Ravina. Oh. Yeah, this is getting a little bit complicated, yeah? Now we've got an Ika de Amri. There are those that say in Ravina. Remember, Ravina was the fifth answer. Now we have an Ika de Amri in what he's answering. Hachiktani. This is what we say. Hakol shochatin means hakol muchsakin. Afal pi she'en, right, muchsakin of bishem mochin. Meaning, all the shochatin, even though they're muchsakin, right? Akol shochdim means akol muchsakin. They could do the shchita without anything. The muchsakin אף בשם מומחין, פעמד וממונים, מי ששחטו לפנינו 2 ו3 פעמים לא נתעלף. Only if he did the shchita 2 or 3 times and he didn't faint. But if he never did it 2 or 3 times, don't do it. Why? Maybe he's going to faint in the middle. Now, if he did do it and he says, "Bari li shelo nitalafti," I didn't faint, it's going to be kosher. Except for that even the avada doesn't help. Why Shema Yishu, right? Shema Yishu, Shema Yachlidu. So says the Gemara, Kulan sheshachtu. Look at the end of the Mishnah again. What is it going on? If it's going on the cheresh v'katan like I, so then it said v'im shachatu mibayle. But rather we're talking about ashen muchzakin. So he says v'amarta you told me barili sagi, that if it's going to be barili, it's going to be enough, right? So says the Gemara, deleta kaman shale. The same answer. He wasn't there to ask. So it's basically two different explanations in Ravina. They both are very, very similar, and the answer is the same, that he's not here to ask him. But the first one was that we have to check him in halachot of shechita, and the second one is we have to check him, did he faint or not? That's what it is. You have to check him, did he faint or not?
No,
Yeah,
I think-
but that is basically, did we check him, did we ask him, did you faint? No, I know for sure I didn't faint. So then it's going to be enough.
I think one is it's talking about the theory. Does he know the laws?
The halachot. So says the Gemara, right? Again, he's not here. So fine. Now, just like what we do all the time, remember, how do we do it you remember how we did it also in Kiyam Masechet? Whenever we have different opinions, we're going to ask, why doesn't A hold like B? Why doesn't B hold like C? Why doesn't C hold like D? And so on and so forth. So it says the Gemara, Ravina v'Rabba Bar Ula. Remember, Rabba Bar Ula was the first one of the Tameh. Ravina was the one of Hakol Shochatin, which was the last one. Okay, which was basically the Mumchin. Okay, so Ravina and Rabba Bar Ula, Kabaye v'Rava v'Ravashi. He did not say like Abaye v'Rava v'Ravashi. Remember, Abaye v'Rava were both to do with the Kutim. Just the difference between them was, do you need Yotze v'Nichnas or do you need Mashkiach Tmidi? And the Ravashi was talking about Yisrael Mumar. Okay, try to remember one more time. Right, you have Rabba Bar Ula was the Tameh guy. Ravina was the last one, which had to do with Muhsakin or not. That he knew the halachot or didn't know the halachot, and the two different versions in it. Abaye v'Rava was about the kuti, which is like the goy. The only difference is, do you need a mashkiach tamidi or Yotze v'Nichnas was enough? And then Ravashi was the one with the Yisrael Mumar. That means Mumar leTeavon, that he was a Jew but not a religious Jew. That we need that. I call him a not religious Jew. It just means Mumar could be even for one thing. It just means that he's a Mumar leTeavon. So Ravina Ravula did not say like Abaye Ravashi Lo Amre. Why? Mishum de Kashelehu vechulan. Because they had the question vekulan, meaning the end part of the Mishnah, and everybody. So they had that question. Nobody wanted to say like Rabba Bar Ula Lo Amri. Why? They didn't want to say like the first one of the Tameh, Lehach Mishnah de Amarta Ikar, because you're going to tell me that we said that the Ikar was going to be in Masechet Zvachim, which means that here it's only Derech Agav. You remember we had a machloket. Which was the main place? Was it in Zvachim or somewhere else? Right? Where's the main place? Meaning, why are we learning it over here? You should have learned it in Zvachim or where you're doing the Korbanot. Adraba, opposite. Hatam Ikar, the Kochim. Over there it's Ikar, but it's the Kochim. But according to the Lisha Damarta Hatam Ikar, that you said that over there it's going to be Ikar, and here it's just because of the Tum'ah, right? Of Tameh of Chulin Tam Nam Yugdoshin. He says Tameh Chuli Gufelo Tzich. I don't need it. Why? Chulin Shnasul Torah Kodesh Lav Kodesh Lami. But he holds that Chulin, which is done like Kodesh, is not considered Kadosh. So it's not considered. So they didn't want to say like Rabba Barula. Nobody wanted to say like Ravina, Kuluk Ravina lo Amri. Remember, Ravina was one that said about the muhzak and no muhzak, and then we started speaking about do you have to test him with the halachot, or do you have to just make sure that he doesn't faint afterwards? So it says lehach nishna damar mumchinin chen mumchin lo rov mitzuyin etzel shchita mumchinin. The majority of people that are doing shchita, they're experts in ilchot shchita. Right? Lehach lisha damar muhzakin im shem muhzakin lo. According to Lisha that says muhzakin yes and non muhzakin lo, meaning does he actually faint or not faint? We're not going to suspect for fainting. So he says Rava lo amar kabaye. Rava doesn't hold like Abaye because of the question that he said about the that at the end of the day do you need a mashkiach tmidi or not? And Abaye doesn't hold like Rava. Hatam lo naga hachanaga. Over there, maybe he didn't actually even touch the wine. Here he touched the animal. Meaning, Abaye says, it's not enough for Yotzev Nichnas. You know why? I need a Mashkiach Tamidi. Why? When you're Yotzev Nichnas, and I've got the doubt whether the goy touched the wine or not, I didn't see the goy touch the wine. So therefore, I could just say, you know what, he probably didn't touch it. Here, for sure, the guy did Shchita. So he for sure did it. So therefore, I can't just say, so therefore, Yotzev Nichnas is not enough. I need a Mashkiach Tamidi. Ravashi didn't say like the other two about the Kutis, because he holds Kutim, Gerai Royoten, that they're like goyim. So there's nothing what to talk about. It's not kosher at all, because it's a goy. Abaye didn't say like Ravashi because he doesn't hold of Rava, meaning he doesn't hold this thing of the hezbed of Rava. Ela Rava might So why doesn't Rava then bemet hold like the Yisrael Mumar? So he says like the Varav da Abaye Kamar. He's only going in Shitat Abaye, but he himself doesn't even hold of it. Meaning he was saying that the Kavanah was like Abaye about the Kuti, but he himself doesn't even hold like Abaye. He was just saying, according to you, Abaye, you don't need a Meshkiach Tmidi. All you need is a Yotzev Nichlas, right? Fine. Nekuda. 2 dots. Yeah, we'll stop here. Hashem.